Benny Ninja, when the youth hear that name, what should come to their minds?
Perfection, inspiration, and Vogue.
And why is those things important to today's youth right now?
I think it's important because it's a personal thing, and I think anything that we can create and perfect within ourselves is always a plus. It benefits ourselves. I believe that perfecting one's way of being a better person always furthers us along in life.
For those that might be still trapped in the Stone Age, and when they hear the word Vogue and they automatically think of Madonna in the video, can you please bring us up to speed?
Madonna wasn't the first person to take it and do Vogue. A lot of people believe that Madonna was the first to take Vogue and bring it to mainstream. When you really go back, we have Malcolm McLaren, who did Deep in Vogue. We have Jodie Watley, who had videos. We have Jodie Watley, who did videos. We have Queen Latifah, Come Into My House, which featured Vogue. But I think at the time, Vogue was so unknown that people didn't catch on to what it was at the time. Madonna being very influential in the music scene, the dance scene, the gay scene, the straight scene, she was able to take it and she was able to mainstream it in a way that nobody else was able to do it. So a lot of people believe that Madonna was the first to attack it, and she really wasn't. She was like the fifth.
How does voguing differ from all the other street dance styles, as far as foundation, as far as, you know, the freedom of it and just the overall self-expression? How is it different?
The difference in Vogue is, the difference with Vogue from a lot of other dances is the cleanliness of it. As a Voguer, the one thing you strive for are clean lines, a sense of fashion, and a sense of self-worth. But beyond anything, it is a royal effect. No other dance that I know of gives you the royal effect, meaning I'm throwing myself in your face. I want you to notice how the perfection in me. I want you to notice how controlled I am of my body. Now, I'm not saying any other dance doesn't have control, but with voguing, the idea of isolating parts of your body that don't need to be seen at the time in order to highlight the storytellers, which are your hands, it's very hard. It's a very hard dance to take on, to learn, and then to be able to speak through. So it's also one of the only dances where you're expected to have a sense of fashion. When you come out, you have to have a sense of fashion and a look. You bring a magazine to life. You're bringing fashion on a runway to a dance floor. And I don't know any other dance style that does that.
Now, doing my research, I've come to find out that there is a femme way to Vogue and then there's a male way to Vogue. Why do you feel that over the years that the guys have gotten confused and they actually do the femme way more than the actual male way? And could you break down the two?
I'm very glad you asked that question, and I'm glad you studied it enough to find that out. I come from the era of Vogue, and I think this will tell a lot as well. Our generations have changed in the last 10 years, as we already know this, 10, 15 years. I started voguing 21 years ago. When I started voguing, and I was catching on to it, there was a thing about being called a sissy, that men did not want to be called sissies. And when we started voguing, which I'll give you history as well in a little while, in a minute, but when we started voguing, we did not want to be considered sissies. The sissies of Vogue were the drag queens. And Vogue was already known as a gay dance. So what we wanted to do as men was we didn't want our dance to replicate our sexuality or to give it away at that point. Vogue was a form of being able to express the lifestyle I want it to have, the way I want it to be viewed. I want it to be viewed as a professional. I want to be viewed as a straight man. I want to be treated like a straight man. I want to have the same rights as this man who is going down to Wall Street to get his job in the morning. I want to prove that I can be that. And that's what Vogue started out as. So we knew I was gay. Do I have to throw it in your face on a dance floor? No. What happened was it became okay in New York City to be gay. It became okay for men to walk around in a certain fashion. But also note, when men started doing it in the 70s and 80s, it was about how manly I can be. So we did it militant. It was lines, 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 lines. Hard. It was very, very hard, because when I was done, I was already considered a gay man. Now today, you walk down the street, everybody in gay culture is homo thug. Everybody dresses hardcore. So to flip mode, they come out as queens. Whereas we were already queens before, our flip mode was to be strong men. Now everything is okay. It's okay to walk down the street and hold a man's hand. It's okay to walk down the street and be gay. Everything you look at in today's lifestyle is homo thug. Every man, or not every, but most men walk around hard, because that's what our images are on TV today. And the men dress to that, and then when the beat comes on, they become as gay and cunt as possible. Do I agree with it? I really don't have a choice in it, because it's dance, and dance is free. I think everybody's interpretation is free, but I don't think that dance should determine a sexuality, just as I don't think fashion should. Fashion is an emotion. Dance is an emotion. And I think that's where it needs to lie. But to tell everybody, I'm gay, I'm queen, I'm such a queen, to me that doesn't say anything other than the fact of what you're doing or where you bring it.
Now, your manager told me that you guys are currently on tour and doing workshops. Now, not only do you teach them dance in the workshops, do you break these types of things down in the workshop too?
Yes,
about
I
the
do.
Culture and the history, and why do you feel that that is also important, aside from just teaching them, the actual dance?
I think learning history and giving history to a beginner is the most important. Before I give you anything, we have to pay tribute to the ones who have paved the way before I got here, the ones whom I watched. This dance was not created by just Benny. This dance was not just created by Willie or Jose or Tatiana. This dance was created by a culture of black men, and this needs to be known. This is black history, and what you don't know, you will never be able to give the truth when you're voguing it. If I don't know where my parents came from, then I could never give my true interpretation of who I am and where I've come from. So I think in order to have a sense and being grounded in the style of Vogue, you have to know the forefathers. You have to know where it came from, the struggles it came from. Like, most people have no idea that Vogue really began its place in prison, Rikers Island. Did you know that?
No, sir.
Exactly. So when I go to teach somebody Vogue and they want to laugh and smile, do you laugh and smile in prison? No. You own your ground and hold your space and demand respect. Same thing. Now that you know that it was created in prison, now you have a sense of, all right, now I know this isn't a joke. I have to take this serious. Yes, it's a warrior's dance. It is a dance of fighting. It was a term. Voguing was a form of fighting. It was my way of saying, I'm going to mess you up on this dance floor, and you better be good at what you do, because if you don't, everybody's going to know you suck at it. And that's how I got my props. So I think history is very important in everybody's culture, no matter where we go. Dancing, dressing style, same thing with fashion. If we go to school today and we learn about fashion, you have to learn what fashion was before you can learn where it's going. I just think it's a grounding experience, and we all need to be grounded at some point.
To piggyback off of that, what you just said about where it's going, the fact that you know the history and you know where it's been, where do you see it going? Because you see it more and more now. I saw that the people in your classes, people, they want to learn it. Even straight guys, they see it as it's just another form. I was looking, I'm like, I need to learn those lines. It's just something that that's getting out there more and more and more and more and more, day by day by day. Where do you see it going, or where do you think it can go?
I'm glad you asked me that, and I don't want to sound stupid when I say this. But for me to put a limitation on it, I think where I see it going, I'm putting a limit on it, on where it goes. I don't know really where it's going to go, but I can tell you the future of Vogue is beautiful. And the reason I say that is because women are starting to take it over. If you know anything about Vogue, Vogue was created in the gay scene. And when the men started voguing, it was a male dominant thing. Women started voguing, and then transsexualism became a big thing. And when transsexualism became a big thing, those were the new women of Vogue. And they went and they told the women, y'all don't need to be here. We're the women. Take that somewhere else. So it literally was a gay dance. It was owned by the gays, nurtured by the gays, created by the gays, and thrown in everybody else's face by the gays. So now the future to me is watching a real feminine woman show what femininity is. As you know, gay men, when gay men are voguing, it's an interpretation of femininity, because we're interpreting what we think is feminine in a woman. But when you see a real woman do it, and she's not interpreting in femininity, she is feminine, I think the truth is being told in that moment. So in my opinion, the future of Vogue is women taking it over. Not so much taking it over, but now becoming a voice in Vogue, which I think is a beautiful thing, women having a voice in Vogue. But the future of Vogue is truly the next generation, and I don't know who they are yet. If you want me to be totally honest with you, I'm not too pleased with the style of Vogue today. Where I come from, again, Vogue is about lines. It's about cleanliness and patterns that I can create out of lines. Today, everybody's forgotten that, and it's more about, forgive my words, but it's more about how pussy I can be. You know, how feminine I can be. And I don't think that's a story. It's not an art to be how feminine I can be. If you want to throw your femininity into it, it should be a story, a part of the story, and then go back into lines, showing me that you know how to manipulate the music, because that's the truth in Vogue, is how do I take music and make it 3D? How do I let you hear it, feel it, and see the music?
Could you see it being presented on like Broadway, Carnegie Hall? Like, let's say Misty Copeland did her little ballet piece and then she started voguing. Could you see it growing to be that?
Of course I can. I was actually asked to try to put something together so that it becomes a Broadway performance.
Oh wow.
I have done Vogue and I have done shows. I think the longest show I've ever done was 45 minutes out of Vogue, and it was called The East is Red. And it was basically a tribute to Willie Ninja. And the story is about Willie Ninja. Him going to Japan, finding out the truth in the ninjas, and what the lines were, the dance was. And he really put together Vogue in a fighting form, so that it was ha, 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 ha. It almost looked like karate. And his lines are pantomime, karate, or martial arts, and lines. So if you look at those forms of him, that's exactly what it is. Taking that, we took that with music and we created a whole entire story out of geishas with real geishas, and voguing geishas, voguing our newbies were the young karate kids, and the elders were the respected wizards, and we took that and really put together a piece. Do I see this? Can I see this becoming a Broadway thing? I would really hope so, because again, I don't want to put a barrier on Vogue's. The sky's the limit. I really hope it does and can make it to Broadway.